Okay, cool. I think right here is where I'll start the intro. Okay, so I think this is actually where I'll film the... Okay, so this is where I'm gonna film my intro. I'm gonna teach you how to run yourself over with a... So the very first step is to film a car going by. And for best practice, it helps if you use a tripod and if you film the car going in the exact same spot that you're gonna get hit. And for camera settings, you wanna crank your shutter speed way up so when the car goes by, there's no motion blur. It'll help in the edit. Okay, now that your camera is on a tripod, you filmed a car going by, you need to get a subject, which today this will be Milu.
Hey.
We're gonna get him run over by a car. First things first, you need to place them exactly where you want them to get hit. Okay, great. You want to get them to react to the car hitting them. And so I need you to go like, Hua! Okay, let's do it together. Hua! Perfect. This next part is super important. You need to get everything out of the frame. So get out of the frame. Bam, this is what you want because it'll help in the edit if you have a clean slate to work with once everything is masked. Now, let's edit. All right, let's get started. So before I start, I'm going to say that I'm going to be doing all the effects and organization in Adobe Premiere and all of the masking in Adobe After Effects. So first things first, you want to drag in the clips that you're going to be editing, which today that will be me getting hit by a car wearing the helmet, and also this little red car I found was the best for this project. Let's start masking. So I'll actually begin with the car. So I'm going to right click on this clip and replace it with an After Effects composition. All right, now that the clip is opened up in Adobe After Effects, we are going to mask the car out frame by frame. So basically, you come up here, click the rotoscope brush tool, and then you just color in where the car is. Essentially, it'll just auto-select all of the pixels that are a similar color, which makes it super quick to mask something out. So basically, frame by frame, paint out your car. So I'm just gonna speed this up here and just make sure you're doing it as accurate as possible. It's not a huge deal if the edges are rough because we will be adding some motion blur, but make sure you do it as accurate as you can. All right, once you've completely masked out the car, if you actually look at your composition and play it back, the car should be completely masked out and the entire background is black, which means it's transparent. Now with the rotoscope brush tool, your edges aren't going to be perfect. So what you do is if you drop down the effects panel and you go to rotoscope refine edge, go down here to roto brush matte, drop down the arrow and just turn the feathering up a little bit so it softens up the edges. All right, now this is super important in regards to exporting. Go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue, come down here to Output Module and hit Lossless. If you go up to here under Video Output where it says Channels, drop down that menu and select RGB plus Alpha. That's going to export it with the black background actually being transparent. Now let's rename this to Red Car. Bam, and hit render. Here's my favorite noise ever. That's how you know something exported. All right, so let's hop back into Adobe Premiere and bring that car into it. You can see that it's completely black, and if we actually put it over top of our wheel clip, you can see that the car is now completely isolated and it's going in front of me. Now, before we go further, I think it's important now to change the speed of the car how you like it. So let's see, it looks like it's going too slow. Like if it's going to hit me, it should be going a little bit faster. So if you hold down the R button, that's how you change time. You just drag the clip a little bit. Let's see. That's pretty good, right? All right, the car kind of flies by. I think that's going to be fast enough to really show an impactful hit. I think now we should line it up with me actually getting hit. So I'd say right here is when the car should actually make contact with my body. Bam, yeah, I think that's when I'll get hit. Now that we have the car hitting me perfectly timed, let's now mask myself out. Now what's super crucial is actually masking a few seconds before and all of the seconds after the car hits you. All right, so I think right here is when we should start masking myself out. So I'm actually going to cut the clip out of all the seconds I want to be masked. What's important, and you need to do this right now, it's important for later, but duplicate this clip by hitting Alt and then drag it up. So now there are 2 layers of me. Now let's click on this top one and replace it with an After Effects composition. All right, here we are in After Effects. Go up, hit that roto brush scope tool, and let's start painting myself out of the picture. So if we go up to the linked composition and play it back, we can see how well we did. You know what, my hand disappears for a second and the edges are pretty rough, but you know what, that doesn't matter because remember, motion blur. All right, so, but to fix up the edges just a little bit, let's go over here to Roto Brush Matte and turn the feathering up just a little so the edges aren't as rough. Now let's revisit this export menu, File, Export, add to render queue, and remember this is super important, you want to export under lossless as RGB plus alpha to make the background actually transparent. I'll name this to Helmet Will, save and render. And then are you ready? Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. I love that so much. All right, so let's grab Helmet Will and drag that right on top of the clip that we turned into an After Effects composition. And now we can just delete these compositions because we're not going to go back to them. All right, so check this out. Now we have a will that we can move freely. Now the problem is if you look there, the will that isn't masked out is still there. This is why we masked it out a few seconds before I got hit. And this is where the clean slate comes in. So in this will clip, I'm going to alt drag it just to duplicate it and find the spot in this clip where I made sure nothing was in frame. So what you're gonna do is export this frame, save it as clean slate, and we are gonna put it underneath of the masked out will and the masked out car. So let's go put it at the very beginning of where Helmet Will is. What we're gonna do is slowly fade it in. So the purpose of this is to sneak in a cleaned background. So once you start moving, that will that's originally standing there is gone. Now we start animating and actually put the car on top of your subject. Click on your masked out subject, Helmet Will, hit your first position keyframe, as well as a rotation keyframe. And so each frame, we're gonna slowly move myself with the car. So let's go over one frame and then bring him over just a tad. And also I think it helps to rotate them slowly downwards because it makes the car look like you know what I mean? All right, so let's just animate these position and rotation keyframes until I'm completely out of frame. All right, now that we have all of this positioned correctly, let's watch that back. Bam, I just got hit by a car. Now it looks kind of weird because nothing's blurred. It kind of looks too choppy. So to fix this, we're gonna go over here to our effects panel and grab a Gaussian blur. We're gonna drag this on top of the car clip as well as Helmet Will. We'll start with Helmet Will. So as soon as the car starts to make impact, let's go over here to Gaussian blur and start a keyframe. Leave it at 0 and turn the dimension to horizontal and repeat edge pixels. So basically go a few frames to the right and turn your blur up. You don't wanna do anything like this that's too blurry, but I'd say a solid 20. 21 is great. Now let's watch that back. Bam, all right. Now what I've actually found recently is that if you go to effects and add a lens distortion, it really helps sell the fact that you just got hit from the side. So if you drag the lens distortion onto Helmet Will, come down here, and this is important, uncheck fill alpha, and hit a keyframe on vertical prism. If we turn up the vertical prism, I kind of like bend into the car. All right, so now that we have the base of me, motion blurred, lens distorted, and moving out of frame, now let's add a little bit of motion blur to the car. All right, as soon as it starts coming into frame, hit the blurriness keyframe, change this to horizontal, and repeat edges. So as the car gets closer to me, let's turn the blurriness up to 35. Bam, once it hits me, as it's going out of frame, I would crank it up maybe like 5 more to 40. Oh wow, that's pretty good. Bam! Check me out, I'm getting hit by a car here. There you go, that's how you get yourself hit by a car. Now, what I always do to make sure that this really pops is drag in some sound effects. I'll drag the first one in, which is car passing by. Right there. All right, and now I have a really good one called impact. Oof. Oh, you can just hear your bones crack. And lastly, a good one to really sell the effect is body fall rolling. So basically, once you get hit by the car and you're not out of frame, I imagine your body is rolling across the asphalt. All right, there you have it. That's how you run yourself over with a car. And now guys, here's a big moment for me, my first YouTube sponsor ever. got a sponsor. Oh my God. Now, a word from my sponsor. And today's sponsor is Skillshare. And Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, technology, business, and more. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to high quality classes from experts in their field. So you can improve on your skills, unlock new opportunities, and do work that you love. Don't you want that? Don't you want that? Right now, I'm watching one by Jake Bartlett called Animating with Light, and it's so sick that I'm gonna be able to know how to do that by the end of this tutorial. Listen guys, Skillshare is more affordable than most every other learning platform out there. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. You can probably learn that on Skillshare. So if you visit the top link in the description below, you get a 2-month free trial of Skillshare. You'd be crazy not to try and enhance your skills by doing that. All right, top link in the description below will take you to Skillshare, and I honestly don't think you'll be disappointed. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I could actually learn and how much I didn't know. So if you want to have an ocean of opportunity hit you like a wave, go to the top link in the description below, Skillshare. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. You're my first sponsor ever. And yeah, I hope you liked this tutorial and have a great day. Nailed it.